Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Iliana again, and I would just like to preface by saying that in this little thing I've prepared, I speak about God from a very Judeo-Christian point of view, in singular male form. And although that sometimes doesn't necessarily reflect my actual beliefs, it's what's easiest to articulate in this context. And I just wanted to say that because sometimes I know it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and I wanted to make sure that we're not uncomfortable at all. Can everyone hear me if I speak like this? Do I have to do a little bit of this? I don't know. Okay, we're good? Okay, great. So I've spent considerate amount of time over the past few weeks dwelling on this concept of divine plan, but all I've ended up with is uncertainty and frustration, and it kind of got me thinking. I had a really long list of questions to choose from, and a lot of questions in my mind that I could have chosen from that would have probably been easier to address, but I chose this one. So why? Well, it dawned on me that does God have a plan was one of my earliest big questions. And in all of my 20 years of living, it still somehow makes me feel pretty small. The other thing that attracted me to this question, and also what makes it so complex, is that it's forced me to examine how I lay blame or give credit, and how I react in times of extreme emotion and my relationship with God. So if you'll allow me, I would like to talk it through with you. As I said, I remember thinking about this at a very early age, which is weird for a little kid, but I was really weird as a little kid. I also had reason to, though. I don't share this often, but my mom had me when she was 36, and when she was 39, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And she spent the next 10 years of her life kicking 3 separate diagnoses in the butt. And she actually just got an all clear on Monday from her oncologist, and she's like totally healthy and like doesn't have to go back for blood tests anymore. And after 17 years, she can finally say that she's done. But this incredibly happy ending was far from guaranteed, and this is kind of all to say that for the majority of my life, my mom was really, really sick. And because I was so young and it lasted steadily into my childhood development, illness and all the introspective processing that comes with it was real and normal to me. And I thought about God quite a lot because of it. My mom was angry, and rightfully so, but because there was this aspect of normalcy for me, I wasn't at all. How could I be angry, or how could I feel that I had been deprived of normal upbringing if I didn't have one to begin with? Nothing had been taken away from me. And although I did do a lot of personal thinking, we rarely spoke about God in my house. And when we did, it was kind of like sarcastic and bitter. I used to joke that if God had a plan, it must look like the scribbled up notes in my homework planner, probably pertinent information that was noted half-heartedly and rarely ever looked at. But I said that kind of stuff to appease my mom, just to like make her smile. And it's not that I put particular faith in God, but I didn't blame him necessarily. I figured that in order for the world to keep spinning, there had to be a balance between happiness and pain and good and bad, and where it got allotted was not really God's business. God had bigger fish to fry than the success of my mom's chemo. So that's what I came up with somewhere between ages 3 and 13, and it's helped me through a series of hardships that's allowed me to focus on the real matter at hand while maintaining relative emotional stability. The idea that there's no grand scheme, that everything occurs due to pure random happenstance is comforting to me, which I know seems backwards, but I think that if I conclusively believed in divine plan, I would be forced to think that God seriously has it out for me. Even through my own health battles, I found it difficult to believe that God had anything to do with it. But I find that times when this mindset has been challenged the most is the good times, which might also seem backwards, because usually when we think of times when our beliefs are rocked, we think of hard times. But again, my perspective is a little different because illness was my normal, my baseline. When I found out on Monday that my mom is officially cancer-free, my very first gut feeling was gratitude towards what I can only associate with God. As by his grace, my mom was healthy, and I immediately attempted to reason myself out of that feeling. If I'm not blaming God, I shouldn't give him credit when it was my mom's will, the competency of her doctors, and overall development of modern science that pulled us out of this one, right? Well, maybe. I find myself lost in loops of what-ifs. What if everything actually does happen for a well-thought-out reason? Have I grown from the experience? Yes. Did the ends justify the means? Maybe. What if the outcome wasn't so fortunate? Would I have grown from the experience? Yeah, absolutely. Would the ends have justified the means? Who's to say? But all I know is that I feel definitively and intentionally blessed. So here we are, after my rational younger self has developed this bulletproof coping mechanism, my much more emotionally inclined present self has torn it down. So I hope that you can all tell by now that I don't have the answers. And I'm pretty comfortable sharing that because, honestly, I'm skeptical of anyone who claims to have it all figured out, a sentiment that nicely complements my rationale that God might not either. Maybe it's just that desire for a relatable God that clouds my ability to accept an all-knowing one. But this is what works for me, for right now at least, and I'm sure that it's going to change several times over the course of my life. But at the end of the day, the only thing we know we have certain control over is how we handle what gets thrown at us, regardless of who's pitching. Thank you.